magic. It's automatic. Got a mask. Who was that? Living legend. Lethal weapon. Mastermind. Never tried. Tell them all.
Off of the Hornet. So right now, hopefully disengage him. Boom, there goes the Talon. Very good job by Haiba. Unlocked in on the Hornet now. Kransi.
The Hornet, all in on the Hornet. That's exactly what I was hoping was going to happen. Shields are down. Damage applied. This Hornet, no damage on it whatsoever. It's going down. Already a 2v1. Take down the arrow.
I'm sick of your talking, you got the wrong one. I'm taking your king and I leave him broken. If I am in second, it's after no one. Just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline. I'm ahead time, the rare kind. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, master, minor. Big time. The king is back like prodigal. I gave him time, it's been too long. Was silent calm, but now the storm. I'm not the one you can't ignore.
It's close. It's super close. The arrow's taking some damage here, but it looks like there it is.
Make 'em all
And
fall
with
in
that,
line. I let the clock tick count down, cause I'm sick of your talking, you got the wrong one. I'm taking your king and I leave him broken. If I am in second, it's after no one. Just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline. I'm ahead time, the rare kind. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, master, minor. Big time.
Gooby Woobies is going to be Sin in that target. Already taken out. He Raptor Saber, and he is... Man, see you later, brother. See you later, Swim.
carries, these guys have been the ones that we've just basically seen end matches in seconds, and now they're up against each other.
Never thought I'd be the one who would play the role. Now look at what we at, man. Who would've known?
Both Sabres were taken out, but Avenger Squadron coming out with that win, going up 2-0, getting into the top 8 there for the Fight or Flight Finals presented by Game Glass, man. This is the road to CitizenCon, and this is what it's all about, baby.
Lights, camera, action, we ready to roll. All right, places, everybody, let's put on a good show.
I'm sick of your talking, you got the wrong one. I'm taking your king and I leave him broken. If I am in second, it's after no one. Just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline. I'm ahead time, the rare kind. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, master, minor. Big time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fight or Flight, presented by Game Glass, the road to CitizenCon. And my lord, that video is a way to start the finals, baby. Kransi and Meyer is back in action with me. How are you guys doing today? Welcome back.
Yo, thank you, man. Doing better after seeing that video. Who made that? Who edited that video? That was ridiculous.
Yo, Esper, bro. That guy went hardcore, brought in some machinima, added some of the footage from the group finals, man, or from the group stage. I mean, I got to give him a salute for that one, man. That hyped me up big time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the day with that much energy. I mean, it's like almost 6 a.m. here, so I needed that little energy push, you know? So it's good.
No, I'm glad it worked out, man. But hey, nothing better than showing off what we've done so far during the Fight or Flight this year, especially, you know, heading to the road to CitizenCon. But this is it. This is the finals, the top 8 teams. This is where you cement yourself, and if you hit that top 4, you get to the, you get to the promised land. You get to CitizenCon 2953. You get to the invitational there. But before we jump into all of this stuff and talk about all this, I want to talk a little bit of, with you guys, Meyer and Kransi. How have you guys been since the last tournament? What have you guys been up to? Let's kind of chat it up a little bit.
All right.
Start with you, Meyer.
Should I start first? All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say that after seeing the group stage, it kind of got me so pumped for PvP, because obviously we know so much is happening with 320. We're getting master modes and experimental, but even then we're getting just a new change to how everything's working. So I wanted to step in again and really get a feel for how our contestants today are going to be fighting, because things are going to be changing drastically. And I actually got to train with Shuang for a little bit, who's going to be here today with Avenger Squadron. Yeah. Just playing about, seeing how he flies, and getting into really awesome. It was a really cool experience for sure.
That's awesome. Well, what about you, Croncy? How's your experience been? With 320 out on the PTU, especially I know you got a little bit of training in yourself. How's it been for you since group stage?
Yeah, look, it's been a big 2 weeks. We've, like exactly what you said, we've got 320 on the PTU now, and we've had a chance to go in and see how Master Modes and the new Arena Commander update might come into the equation for future events, as well as just the game in general, which is a lot of fun, as well as lots of times trying to get Hull Seas to load cargo. But I've also had an opportunity myself to hang out with the guys from Ramming Department and get sort of an idea of how they train and how they sort of look back on all of their previous matches and try to improve and stuff. And so I'm really grateful for them giving me that sort of insight. It was very cool.
Awesome, Croncy. Glad that both of you was able to jump in with some of the PvPers and just level up that knowledge that we already have, because we've been playing this game for a long time, especially me, since 2015. And I'm gonna name drop Angels of the Warp, because back then I used to try to fly with them, but they used to be very good. But that was back in 2.63. That was a long time ago. But I myself, something that I was very interested in is that Meyer, you trained with Schwang and Avenger Squadron. I actually trained with both Pax and Avenger Squadron as well. But the funny thing is that when I was on your stream watching how they were training you, their process was the exact same way how they trained me. And, I just love the similarities. Everything they broke down, the way they break it down is so well done. And it was the same exact way they explained it to us was to you. I was like they got their stuff together. I'm not saying that not only they have their stuff together, but the entire PvP community, man, is very, very, other than, trolls in chat and stuff like that, these guys are very committed to what they're doing. And let me tell you something. I got into the PU. I started my own dogfights. I started my own pirating stuff. It was a lot of fun. It just for me to try it out. And the one thing that I thought of that was the hardest thing for me was to remember all my keybinds on my sticks. It's so hard to kind of keep up with the action and then remember all my keybinds. So my level of respect for the PvPers were pretty high, because I thought it's difficult to do it. But after kind of learning a little bit and kind of going through through the motions of trying to figure it all out, it just kind of leveled up a lot higher for me. So a lot of respect to the teams that are here for the finals, and I'm just excited to kind of get it all going and see who's going to be showing up at CitizenCon to play in front of a crowd and hyped up in front of people, man. That's going to be the big thing for me. But let's talk a little bit about today, because we're going to move on. We're not in ArcCorp anymore. We are in Microtech. Croncy, I'm going to start with you. What are going to be the significant differences that you think that we're going to see today in today's finals because of the arena change?
Yeah, so 2 big things that are important about us now doing this on Microtech rather than ArcCorp is, first off, just so everyone knows, we are doing all of these fights in daylight. So we've set it up so that every single person is going to be fighting in daylight, which means that bright white Microtech snow, we'll see how it impacts depending on the exact arenas, can be a problem sometimes, especially if you're in an instance where you're coming over the top of someone and you can't even see your pip. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch out for. And then in addition, the Microtech atmosphere is much thicker than the ArcCorp one is. Now, our pilots have been testing these, obviously, so they're going to know what they can do, but you're going to see it. It's going to be a lot harder to disengage. It's going to be a lot harder to get in someone's blind spot. So things are going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys can pull this off.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a dogfight for sure, especially here at Microtech. What about you, Meyer? How are you feeling about this entire arena change going from ArcCorp to Microtech?
Well, I mean, if anything, it's going to be a nice change of scenery, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be a change from just not having all the city lights and stuff of ArcCorp, sorry. But at the same time, Microtech has its own challenges. I believe when it comes down to I think it's not all of Microtech. It might be around you, Babbage, and certain other storm spots, because storms do move around planets. But you will have to worry about that, especially down in atmosphere in Microtech. I think the atmosphere is a little bit different to fly in than ArcCorp, but we'll see on the day. Then again, I'm sure all our pilots today are going to be more than prepared for everything that's coming their way today, for sure. But yeah, otherwise, I expect to see much closer knife fights and stuff. I don't think that the bright snow is going to affect them too much, at least hopefully not, because they're going to be focusing more on the pips and such. But yeah, like I think everyone's going to have a bit of a blind spot really because of the lighting. But there you go.
Hey, I mean, these guys have been putting in a ton of hours into the game, so I don't think a pip is going to really... I mean, it may affect them, but I feel like they're experienced enough to kind of know exactly where to shoot, especially as you guys talked about master modes a little bit. I know in that first patch, we didn't even have a pip to fight with, and master modes is completely just slowing down how the game is played. You can't do your 45s. You can't maneuver as you would right now in the game. So, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. But let's jump over and talk about the bracket right now. But before we talk about like the bracket and do all of that, predictions, let's just talk about the road for these teams, because these teams, they weren't, some of them, I'm not going to say they had an easier road, but they all had to fight their way to the finals in order to get here. So let's go take a look at the bracket and take a look at these teams, and then I'll shoot it over to you, Meyer, to talk about some of these teams and which teams, and I guess impress you with their path to the top 8. But, right now our top 8 teams are going to be Avenger Squadron, Liberty Reapers Black, Avenger Squadron, the community members, Electric Blanket, Gooby Woobies, who are representing Ram, Pax Mortis, Aurora Borealis, and Shadow Moses. So this top 8 to me is stacked. What I can see the most is that Avenger Squadron has 2 different teams. Now, if Avenger Squadron, both teams win in this round 1, they're going to have to fight each other in winners round 2. So that's going to be super interesting. But I'm going to throw it over to you, Meyer. Which team that you feel has really shown you the path, from the group stage to the final, to the top 8, which team do you feel like really impressed you the most on their way to the finals here at Fighter Flight?
I mean, I have to say, when it comes down to all the teams so far, most of the teams here on this list actually went through the entire group stage without conceding a single game. Avenger Squadron, the AVS community, Electric Blanket, Liberty Reapers Black, none of these guys actually lost a single round coming into the group stage and through into the finals. So I think right now, none of these guys have necessarily been tested. So like as we come now into the finals, as the skill pool starts to funnel down and we start to see the cream of the crop rise up, I think we're going to see something very interesting. However, at the same time, it is going to be very interesting because round 1 is Avenger Squadron versus Liberty's Reapers Black. And Liberty's Reapers actually had all 4 of their teams make their way into the finals of the group stage, with only Liberty's Reapers Black making their way through. Avenger Squadron were the guys who took out Liberty Reapers Orange, and so they have a bit of a, how would you say, a grudge match right now. So they have to avenge their team by facing off Avenger Squadron. It's a bit, a bit punny, but I'll save the puns for later on today, Crucian. But all in all, man, I think that we have a bunch of really interesting matches to look forward to today.
Hey, I totally agree with that. I think Avenger Squadron versus Liberty Reapers Orange, when I look back at that fight, the way that Avenger 1 can maneuver his ship and merge into his target, it's absolutely incredible. He did such a great job. So, but before we jump into my stuff, Kroncy, same question to you. Which team that, rise from the group stage into the finals has impressed you the most? To be here and show off today, hopefully, in the Fighter Flight finals today.
Yeah, well, it was absolutely awesome to watch Gooby Woobies over the course of the event. They were one of the teams that were actually able to watch with an absolutely amazing arrow pilot. We saw the arrow over the course of a couple of different rounds, but Gooby Woobies really showed just what you can do with that in this format. I do want to point out 2 particular teams. First off, Team Aurora Borealis. Team Electric Blanket. Only team from Australia. I have to represent them for sure. I'm very, very happy that they're there. Very excited to see what they can do over the course of this event, and hopefully will at least get past the first 2 rounds and get themselves into the top 4. And of course, AVS the community, one of the only 2 teams of our top 8 who actually didn't have a bye. in the first round of the group stage. So they had to absolutely slog through as many people as they could, and they got there. So very excited to see what they can do as well.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, you both really hit the nail on the head there. I think Gooby Woobies, man, GIG did a great job. But some stuff that we don't really talk about much is Shadow Moses. Now, PvP community talks to each other. They're on each other's discords. But one person that I really want to mention is Cobra. Apparently, Cobra is an absolutely incredible, pilot, especially in the Arrow, who is probably one of the best knife fighters in the game. Knife fighting in PvP means like you're in a close proximity around 200 to 300 meters. So, I'm very excited to see Shadow Moses, to see him, what they can do versus some of these top teams. You got Aurora Borealis as well, who are from Finland and Sweden. So, an Electric Blanket, again, you mentioned that, Croncy, and Electric Blanket, bro. Like, how are they in these matches from Australia? Obviously, they have a high ping, but they don't care. They're here to win it. Last year, they took third place. So I know that they're more patient because last year they got third place and they were using the Avenger Warlock. So I'm just excited to see all these matches come to play. But before we move on, we're going to break down the rest of the arena for you guys. We're going to break down the rules so that way for those of you that are watching at home for the first time, you guys will get to understand how exactly the rule set is and how exactly, the tournament is going to run. But before that, guys, I want to talk something about just about what I'm wearing, okay? I know that you guys don't have your own yet. I'm sorry, I'm not bragging, but this is the best jersey that I had the pleasure of literally planning out with .x team, and it came out phenomenal. I promise you guys, the quality is even higher than our other jerseys because the color scheme is just so much better. But I'm going to say this, Meyer and Croncy, you guys will get your own. We will be wearing these at CitizenCon, obviously, while we're casting during the tournament. So, but guys, if you guys want to get your own, if you want to help support Atmo Esports and our road to CitizenCon, guys, whatever we raise is pretty much going to go towards helping the entire setup and making the experience for the community a lot better at CitizenCon 2953. So, exclamation mark merch in chat. You guys can grab it now. It's available. Some of the t-shirts are commemorating Portala Star in the back. You can get your flag as well. I wanted the Virgin Islands flag, but they gave me the US one, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But dude, the merch is absolutely top notch, man. So I can't wait for you guys to get your own Myron Croncy because I'm sorry. This was a sample. I had to get the sample because I have to sample the stuff to make sure it looks good, but yeah, guys, make sure you guys go. Hey. No, I'm not, man. No, I'm not. You guys are ripping me one right now. But next thing here is that we got the Toby sale. One more time, guys. It's the Toby sale 22-year anniversary. Krause, I'll let you talk about Toby a little bit here.
Yeah, so we've got 22 years of Toby, which honestly, when I first heard, I was very surprised. That is a very long time to be doing business and an amazing company, genuinely. The Toby Eye Tracker 5, if you guys haven't been using it, fantastic for StarCitizen, fantastic for a bunch of other games too. Really up your game, especially in dogfighting, racing, that sort of thing. And I even know a lot of people that use them in FPS mode as well. It works. It's really nice. You guys can get yourself 20% off right now. And that'll end pretty soon, I believe. I believe that ends by the end of the month. Crucian might know the exact date for me. Yeah,
5 more days, I believe. Yeah, in 5 more days. Yep. They can type exclamation mark Toby in the chat. And I believe there's an extra 5% discount there, if I'm not mistaken. So if you click the link, you will be able to get it for a little bit more cheaper. But yeah, big shout out to Toby. By the way, if you guys didn't know, Toby started in the healthcare industry, then bring it on and evolve it into gaming. So that's why they've been around so long. They do a lot of good stuff in the healthcare industry with technology and eye tracking and a lot of good stuff. So it's not just gaming. They do a lot more than that. But I'm glad to see him in the gaming space, Meyer, because honestly, like when I was, training and doing all my dogfighting stuff, like having that eye tracker to be able to like look ahead of where you're looking or where your other pilot is at or where your enemy is at to make sure that you can turn that direction is super important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, Yeah, 100%. Like from the gaze-based tracking to like actually being able to use your head to move around and like to see targets. It doesn't just help with accessibility. It helps with being able to immerse yourself in the game and also like just be a bit more situationally aware of what's going on for sure.
Hey, man, you get Toby Game Glass Dual Sticks. I think that's the ultimate combo there for full immersion, so can't complain when it comes to that. And then finally, we got our Fight or Flight merch as well. So not only we got the CitizenCon stuff happening, we got the Fight or Flight merch as well. So make sure you guys, hey, if you guys want to represent Fight or Flight, then you guys can grab that as well. It's up to you guys. I always end up buying everything always, so it's just me. But I literally have an entire collection at home of Atmo merch. But hey, you got to support the cause, right? So, but yeah, all right, let's get back into the rules and discussion, guys. Let's talk about the arena first of all. Let's pop up the arena in Microtech right now, because this is it right here. We talked about it a little, Kronstein. I'm going to start off with jump over to you real quick. We talk about how heavier the atmosphere is in Microtech. It's going to be the same thing, the same arena, guys. 15 kilometers from the front and the back of the 890 jumps, which is going to create a diameter of 30 kilometers where they'll be able to fight. And then the height is going to stay at 15 kilometers. So that way, there's no room to go in space. But how quick do you feel like these matches are going to go compared to what we were doing in Arc Group Crown? Do you feel like the fights are going to be completely slowed down, or do you feel like the fights may go a little bit quicker because they need to, in case, like things like the Hornet can't turn fast enough? Like, tell me a little bit about Microtech and how it's going to affect these ships.
Yeah, so firstly, as I mentioned earlier, the biggest change here is just the actual terrain itself. Being able to get yourself into a position where your opponents aren't going to be able to see your pip is going to be huge. So depending on how that gets utilized, we may see faster fights. It's a little bit interesting. We're going to have to go through a couple of rounds first to see what people do. The thicker atmosphere, like you said, a couple of vehicles are going to turn a lot worse. I think the Arrow may be the one that we're going to see it on the hardest, as if you do, anyone who's flown an Arrow before knows that if you go really hard, really fast with an Arrow, when you come out of that turn, you start wobbling all over the place, and that gets a little bit more accentuated here on Microtech. The 30 kilometer bubble that we do have here, extending 15 kilometers up into space, much more important here, I think, than it is in Area 18, because you're going to get, we're probably going to see a lot of fights much higher in atmosphere, which may mean we may see some people actually risk the boundaries today. I'm not sure. Getting that little bit of edge, even at like the 10 kilometer mark, can mean life and death here, obviously. So that's going to be a thing that we're definitely going to have to watch out for. I think all of those together, those are the main things. The vehicles themselves don't change a ton. It's just we're going to see some strategies evolve.
Yep. No, I think some very good points there. And I'm going to shoot this question over to you, Meyer. Meyer, do you feel like, obviously, everybody's using the Hornet because of the forward acceleration bug, giving them some extra G's to be able to turn. But because of Microtech being a little bit more weighed down on gravity, do you feel like we're still going to be able to see the Hornet out there? Because I feel like the Arrow is just going to take advantage of that insane slow speed of turns. And obviously in a 1v1 scenario, that Arrow is going to be able to hopefully come out on top, especially at this high level of the competition. But how are you feeling about the Hornet, Meyer? Do you feel like people are going to continue using it in Microtech, or change their strategy around?
I think that the pros might outweigh the cons here with the Hornet. I think people might still use it for that reason. Much in the same for the same reason that Kronzi mentioned the Arrow like wobbling at the lower atmospheres or altitudes. Even the atmosphere is thicker, and so that's going to be more of a problem. If our contestants today are going to be kind of like racing each other for that vantage point to be able to see the opponent without having to necessarily worry about being snow blinded because their pips won't necessarily contrast well against the ground, I feel like, for the most part, actually, people might use it. Then again, that's the beauty of Fight and Flight, and that's the beauty of this game as it iterates, right? Is that, like, if people do choose the Hornet today, only one ship in a team will have a Hornet. And as we've seen in the group stage, that isn't necessarily going to cut it, because, we saw G.I. Joe take out 2 people with an Arrow, and I think one of those people had a Hornet in their retinue. So I guess it will depend. It will depend. But again, most of these guys here haven't actually lost a match yet. So it'll be very interesting to see when it comes down to skill, like who is going to get on top. you know.
Yeah, very good points there. And something that I want to mention of why, if I wasn't able to break this down as much as I wanted to, but when we saw that match in the group stage where G.I. Jew was just spinning around that Hornet and just taking it out, he did such a great job. So the Hornet only has so much of that visibility with the pip. So if any arrow can continue to stay around the cone or the cone of visibility for the Hornet and just stay around on the outside of that cone, they're going to take advantage of that spot every single time. So shout out to Pax Mortis for that little lecture there, but literally like staying in that cone and just being able to not see that visibility, they'll be able to just spin around and hopefully have that great maneuverability that you saw and hopefully see the arrows coming on top. Now, we saw Pax Mortis using the Talon, right? So my question is, like, are some of these teams going to switch from, Hornet Saber and use Hornet Arrow, or maybe they're going to, do their best to try to keep that Saber in? Because from my understanding, the Saber doesn't do too bad in Microtech atmosphere, but I think that the Arrow's still going to have that, that advantage. So are they going to be able to sacrifice that extra, size 3s, for size 2s, if that matters? But I'm just excited to see what kind of difference we're going to see from the group stage to the finals today, and if somebody's going to come with a different strategy. Like, I would love to see an arrow Talon or something, two maneuverable ships, but at the same time that might be a little bit tough because the Hornet still has that little advantage. But let's go ahead and break down some of the teams that we have for today, guys, because I'm excited for these teams, and we're going to show up the profiles here for each team. Let's start off with Avenger Squadron and kind of break both down. Of course, we have Schwang and Avenger 1 here, both using dual sticks, and one is going to be flying the Saber, which is Schwang, and then the Hornet here for Avenger 1. Now, I'm going to shoot it over to you, Meyer. Do you think that they're going to continue here with the Saber, or maybe change with the Arrow, or how do you feel like Avenger Squadron, do they plan on changing it up in the finals, or how do you feel they're going to move forward here?
So Myers unfortunately just his PC has crashed. So I'll feed that question for the moment. So so we saw the Saber and the Hornet. It was the most popular loadout that we saw during the group stages, and for good reason. It was very powerful. It was able to utilize a bunch of different strategies. It did have some issues with fighting arrows when we got into a 1v1 situation, but they solved that by just trying not to get into that situation for the most part, right? So I think we're probably going to see, especially with Avenger Squadron and a lot of these other teams today, we're probably still going to see lots of Saber Hornets. And I would be sort of, I would expect if they've spent the last 2 months or so practicing Saber Hornet, don't change it up just for the arena. Just try to modify your strategies. So I think we're going to see the exact same thing. Some fantastic pilots here with lots of very cool. We could probably just take the highlights of these guys from each of the fighter flights and have our own awesome little compilation there. Some fantastic pilots. I expect good things today.
Yeah, I expect to see, the same kind of maneuverability. I feel like Avenger Squadron could do a great job, and I think they could take the whole tournament, man. And that's just me talking highly of these folks and the training that they do. And they've been training, man. I'm not saying that, they're favorites. All I'm saying is that any team can really come out on top, but I'm really have some great high hopes for Avenger Squadron here during the tournament. I have high hopes for Shadow Moses. I have high hopes for a lot of the teams, but like I said, these top 8 teams, man, they're the best of the best. So I'm I wouldn't be surprised if most of these games go to game 3 every single time, Kranzi. But, very excited for that. Meyer, you back? You alive? You good?
I'm alive. I'm safe. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were breaking down Avenger Squadron, Meyer here. Is there anything that you want to add to the, to this awesome team that is going to be here coming up in match 1 here soon?
I got to practice a bit with Schwang over the last weekend, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they play. They're a good teacher and also a good player. But yeah, all in all, I think that we have our day cut out for us with Avenger Squadron, because again, this is one of those teams that didn't lose. They didn't concede a single match, And so it'll be very interesting to see, who will try and, make them bleed first, especially since they're up against Liberty's Reapers for the first time. And they were one of those teams that knocked out a Liberty's Reapers team to make their way into the finals in the first place. So there's a bit of, I think, a tiny bit of a grudgy matchy kind of coming through in a second. So looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's get it. On to our next team is going to be Liberty Reapers Black here, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Liberty Reapers Red. Liberty Reapers Red, who was taken out by Gooby Woobies. Man, I thought that they were going to be in the finals, right? Because of the fact that you had Haiba in there with his teammate. Last year was Haiba and Lycosar, but Lycosar wasn't part of his team this year. But man, it was such an incredible matchup to see these two teams go at it, and Gooby Woobies, representing Graham coming out on top. But it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like tough to not see, Haiba around. So Haiba, shout out to you, man. I hope all is well. But hey, I'm excited because 320 is out on the PTU. We have a lot more next year, especially to hopefully do a tournament where there's not going to be any team cap. Anybody should be able to join, and we should hopefully have a lot easier time in Arena Commander than we are in the PU. But for right now, hey, this is how we're doing it. We're competing in the PU, and we're competing at a very high level. But anyways, Liberty Reapers Black, A+, and New Cabbage. Now, we didn't see Liberty Reapers Black on the broadcast during the group stage because we were trying to make sure that we were only capturing one arena, so that way the other arenas can run as smoothly as possible. But any notes here from Liberty Reapers Black that you guys have in mind here, Meyer?
No, just that obviously they didn't lose a single match going through in the group stage. I'm looking forward to seeing, again, this is going to be one of our first matches today. I'm looking forward to seeing how they go up against Avenger Squadron, since they are one of the teams that took out Liberty Reapers. And because, again, every single Liberty Reapers team made their way to group stage finals. Only the black team went through. But yeah, so we have a few, I guess, grudge matches to see. We have, of course, Gooby Woobies. We have Avenger Squadron. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, they for some reason, so during the group stage, Havoc wasn't there, and then they had to go to Blackfleet 1, and then NFED, who went 2-0 versus Org Corp, Ghost Corp, and Skunkworks Team 4. NFED went through Ghost Corp. They 2-0 both teams, and then they won against Liberty Reapers Black, and Liberty Reapers Black, it seems like that skill ceiling was definitely a lot different because they came in and 2-0'd NFED at that point, and NFED was, knocked out at that final. So that group stage, to me, man, was definitely tough for some of these teams. But yeah, I think Liberty Reapers Black, I think they're going to bring it on and do very well. Any comments from you, Croncy, on Liberty Reapers Black?
Yeah, no, you guys pretty much touched on most everything. One of the only 4, they brought 4 teams to this year's event, and they were the only ones that were able to get through in the end. I will point out that it does look like they are running back the Hornet Saber today, so we're going to see a little bit of what we didn't get to see from them in the group stages, and see how their strategies evolve versus everyone else running the Hornet Saber, because like we said, very popular loadout.
Nope, totally agree there. So, all right, well, our next team is going to be Avenger Squadron, our second Avenger Squadron team here, the community members. By the way, if you guys don't know what the community members mean, then you should go back and watch the Fight or Flight. You should go back and watch the Fight or Flight on Toby Gaming Clash, because that was a trip. But here we go, Avenger Squadron. A lot of these teams, too, remember, dual sticks, Hornet, Saber. I feel like some of these teams may switch to Hornet Arrow if they can really take advantage of the Arrow, or maybe even the Talon, take advantage of how fast the Talon can roll, as you guys mentioned it in the group stage. But we have Stray Bullets and Cold Celion here, who hopefully I swear if I didn't say that, I probably said that wrong, but somebody's going to say something in the chat. I can already tell. But anyways, I know, man. I know. But this team actually... This team actually, not an easy path as well. They had to fight here in the Enforcement Bureau. They had to fight Team Turbo, and then Staff of Sharon again, which was your team, Meyer, that, they kind of went through 3 teams, 2-0 to every single team. Hasn't dropped a match yet. And then, they're going up against which team they're going up against Electric Blanket from Australia. So, Croncy, what are your thoughts here in the, versus the community, Avenger Squadron, the community members? Do you think they're going to do well? Maybe they're going to meet up versus Avenger Squadron in the winners round 2? I mean, anything could happen at this point.
Yeah, true. Anything could happen. That is one of the things that I actually really love about a double elim bracket. It makes it so that, anyone can meet anywhere, and it can create a bit of a story, which is nice. Yep. Yeah, the community team from AVS, one of the only 2 teams that didn't have a bye at the start of the group stages. So they really had to slog through it in order to get there into this top 8, and they very much deserved it. One team I want to mention that they beat in round 2 was Turbor Kappa. Turbor, also another one of these big orgs that brought a ton of teams in, but they weren't able to get there in the end. And so a huge congratulations to AVS being able to defeat them and then follow it up with a 2-0 of a Staff of Sharon. So massive props to them there. I think once again, we're probably going to see them run back the Hornet Saber. We're not sure what they're running yet, but if you're good at it, you keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Hey, totally agree with you. Any comments here for the community members here, Meyer, that you want to add to what Croncy just explained?
Well, I mean, these guys, they clearly show that they're from the House of Shuang and Avenger 1. I mean, they were the 5 teams here that got a clean sweep the entire way through up until the finals. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how they do. I mean, they beat Staff of Sharon again, like a 2-0. And those were the guys who beat CIG's pitched team. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do, especially if we do go in through the game into, I believe, what it would be the semifinals here. And they're going to have to face off against Avenger 1 and Shuang to see who's it going to be. Is the student going to surpass the master? We'll have to see after, of course, that first match against Avenger 1 and Avenger Squadron, and Liberty's Reapers Black. So all in all, it's going to be a pretty fun one, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I want to say this and repeat a very good point that Croncy just made. Remember that this is a double elimination bracket, so that means that even though if they lose there in winners round 2, let's say both Avenger Squadron teams meet in winners round 2, if whoever wins will get dropped down to the losers bracket, and they'll still be able to stay alive. All you need to do is hit that top 4 spot, and you'll be able to win that entire trip all the way to CitizenCon 2953, where you'll be able to fight in person at CitizenCon, which I'm pretty excited about. Pretty excited. So anyways, our next team is going to be Electric Blanket here, and these guys have some history, all right, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are, they have some great history. They're not from the U.S. They're from Australia. We got the ground graphic again. I'm coming after you, or graphic. I'm kidding. I'm not coming after you. I love you, but it's pretty insane. All right. Number 1, they're from Australia, and then you have the floor mat, okay, who's on mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to say this right now. If I think that the game StarCitizen does a really great job at making it possible for you to compete at a high level with any controls. They do a good job of having all the controls there. So to see that the floor mat is using mouse and keyboard and is here in the top 8 kind of says a lot, all right? So they made top 3 last year during the Fight or Flight 2952. But Croncy, this is your hometown. I'm going to shoot them to you. Tell me a little bit about Electric Blanket and their path to the finals today.
Yeah, very excited to see some people from Australia hopping into events like this and doing the country well. It might not make the local news, but it makes my heart, okay? So these guys, they came in with a bye at the start of last event, but they were able to 2-0 Erie Aces and 2-0 Liberty's Reapers Yellow. Another one of those teams that actually mentioned, they just brought in a ton of people, but Electric Blanket were better. Now, there's one important thing to mention with these guys that is not going to apply to the majority of the other teams, which is one of their players is from Australia. I believe it is only the one. That's going to mean we're going to see a bit of a ping disadvantage. And the fact that they were able to win with a ping disadvantage is amazing. So very excited to see what they can do there. They are running back the Hornet and Arrow. We do have that confirmed at the moment. So this is my favorite composition for this tournament. I really like how the Arrow performs in the 1v1s once you get into the the late stages of the event. So hopefully we can see some more of that, because because we didn't get to see them at the group stages. So very excited to see how they perform today.
All right. I mean, hey, very good call out there from your hometown, Croncy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they move if they go pretty far into the tournament, because again, they know what it takes. They were top 3 last year, so excited to see how far they get into this tournament in the finals today. But anyways, any comments from you, Meyer, that can complement what Croncy just said?
Just actually what you said about the floor mat using keyboard and mouse. I mean, I guess it's a bit of a testament really to CIG's controller parity, you know, like trying to make sure that all the controllers work from, you know, keyboard and mouse to HOSAM to HOSAS to whatever in between. But yeah, I think throughout this entire finals, only 2 contestants are not using HOSAS or hands-on stick and stick, because I believe that does give you the best amount of granularity, especially when it comes to different ships and how they roll and the roll rates. Keyboard and mouse, you're at a tiny bit of a disadvantage with rolling because it's binary, right? It's on or off. You have to feather your rolls and stuff to get into the angles and such. And with 319, having to kind of like get to those 45-degree angles to make use of both your dorsal and your strafe and your yaw, basically, it's very difficult. So it's cool to see the floor mat here representing keyboard and mouse, because things might get easier for keyboard and mouse in 320 because they're kind of like unifying some of those controls and thruster profiles. But yeah, like it's going to be cool to see how they do today in that Hornet.
No, very, very good points with the controls in 320. So thanks for that. And then our next team is going to be Gooby Woobies representing RAM here. And this is a team that we have kept talking about. G.I. Jew with that incredible, outstanding maneuverability and able to take that last win versus Liberty Reapers Red in the group stage. This is by far the highlight to me in the group stage, because them being able to take out one of the top teams, in my opinion, they definitely 100% deserve to be here. And some notes, you know, like Sin, I believe, has been a real life pilot. I know you guys probably got some stories, so you know I'll shoot it over to you, Meyer, and kind of give me your thoughts here on this incredible team all the way from Canada.
Well, I mean, I don't really have many notes on ramming department and Gooby Woobies, apart from, of course, you know, we saw some serious arrow play from G.I. Jew there, clutching the finals and getting chat just on fire in the best of ways here. But I had no idea that Sin was a pilot. But yeah, I have to say that like the community of Ram have been very good to me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, like just in general, the PvP community throughout the course of the Fight and Flight series, you know, like after the show, they reached out and stuff to talk about the game. And yeah, don't let you know, some of these knuckleheads in chat fool you. They're actually really nice people.
Now, I mean, a little bit about Sid and what he told me was that he's been in the Canadian Air Force for 10 years and always has a passion for flying. Started with low flying, found out about PvP. Obviously, the rest from there is history. So I just think it's a cool story to kind of implement, that we actually have a real pilot implementing the skill that he's using in real life to implement him into what StarCitizen is today. So that, I mean, that just, I'm not going to say the game is perfect and the controls are perfect, but I'm just saying that, think about that for a second, that you have a pilot saying that the controls or the way that the game flies within StarCitizen is at that high level that it really makes somebody that flies planes in real life super happy. So anyways, any comments from you, Croncy, about our team here, Gooby Woobies?
Yeah, so I got to hang out with the guys from RAM but since the last event, and I will tell you, at the very least, their entire org is behind this team. The amount of effort that these guys put into reviewing their footage and you know, seeing if there is anything they could do better is bar none. And these pilots are heavily respected within the org, I'll tell you that much. So very excited to see what they can do today. Of course, happy birthday, Jace. Yeah, ramming department. Gosh. We'll see what you can do with Gooby Woobies.
Born on Mercury, so is his birthday very often.
It's a ramming department meme, you have to say.
Oh my gosh, man. Hey, stop hanging out with these guys if you're gonna keep saying happy birthday, Jace. I'm just like, my guy has a birthday every single tournament that we have going on right now. So anyways, the next team is going to be Pax Mortis. And I had the pleasure of hanging out with some of these folks here for Pax Mortis. And I'm going to tell you, man, they also have some great knowledge. And look at that, bro. Pimping out the RSI black and gold armor there. By the way, I'm going to say a quick shout out to Victor for the incredible graphics here for the player profile. So Zero and Sil. I'm not saying that entire name because I'm going to get it wrong. Solsharsharin. There you go. I got it for you, brother. It's good, but I really want to see. This is a team that came all the way from the group stage and ran it through with the Talon, and I really want to see the Talon in Microtech again, but I'm going to shoot it over to you, Meyer. Tell us a little bit about Pax Mortis, and you think, are we going to see the Talon again?
Well, I mean, I think because we did not see Pax Mortis during the group stage, what I can gather from them is that they like gold. Obviously, Siltius Ruin there is using a Talon, and at least they are slated to use a Talon. I guess what that means is that that's their favorite ship. It's not necessarily set in stone. That being said, you know, like with its higher maneuverability and such, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because surprisingly, the Talon was not necessarily one of the ships that was highly chosen. We saw a few of them, but we didn't see as many as perhaps I think Croncy thought we were going to see. You know, not to call out Croncy there, but yeah, like in atmosphere, I think that there are some issues with it, perhaps, which is why we haven't seen it. It's a bit lighter, and so it has those same issues that the Arrow might have. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to seeing how they do it.
Okay. Well, any comments there for you, Croncy, from Pax Mortis, until we jump over to the last two teams of the bracket?
Yeah, so firstly, it does look like they're going to be running back the Talons. So, Maya, you'll be eating your words when Pax Mortis win the entire thing.
Okay.
No, I like the Talon as a bit of a pet ship, right? We saw it a couple of times during the group stages. It just never really got there. It never really performed as well as the Arrow did or the Saber did in a lot of these configurations. But these guys are running it back, and they managed to top 8. So we didn't get to see these guys in the group bracket, which means we didn't get to see just how good this Talon pilot is. Maybe it makes all the difference. And so very excited to see what these guys can do today.
Yep, I mean, Pax Mortis going through another turbo team in the group stage, beating AVS Hazardous Automata, so beating Avenger Squadron team, and then going up 2-1 to Dolos Signum in the group stage, earning that spot here in the finals here for Fight or Flight presented by Game Glass. So I think that Pax Mortis has what it takes, and hopefully they can take that top 4 or even take it all if they want to. So you know, very good luck to that team. Next team is going to be Aurora Borealis. We got 2 incredible people, one from Finland, one from Sweden, and we got Zemion and Ullman. So you got that Hornet Arrow combo, and they're not here to mess around. You know, they were here last year as well. They ended up with a bye, and I mean, I think that they're going to do a great job. They beat FFK Team 3 2-0, and then beat Avenger Squadron, the Detectives. They went up 2-1 versus Avenger Squadron, the Detectives. So, you know, very good job to Aurora Borealis for being here. Croncy, I'll start with you. Any comments here from Aurora Borealis coming into this tournament?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, our only EU team that we have here today. We got a lot of US teams. This is one of our only EU teams. And yeah, the Hornet and Arrow running it back again, most likely. My favorite outfit of the entire day. So excited to see what these guys can do. Once again, we didn't get to see them. But beating AVS the Detectives 2-1 for their finals in the group stages is not an easy feat. We saw a lot of these guys get through a clean sweep, but some of these matches were a lot closer with some very, very insane competitors. So we'll see what they can do today. Very excited to see what the Europeans can bring to Fight or Flight this season.
No, I agree. Any comments from your side on Aurora Borealis, Meyer?
Crucian, no notes here. I mean, like, I think all EU eyes are going to be on Aurora Borealis because that's where the representation is at the moment. You know, like, we got Zemion from Sweden, we've got Ullman from Finland here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. Again, they beat AVS the Detectives, and you know, every single team here in this finals came to win, came to get that all expenses paid asterisk flight to a trip to CitizenCon. So, like, you know, but then they still beat an Avenger Squadron team, and I think that is something to say. So let's go ahead and give it up for Aurora Borealis. No bias here because of proximity.
100% bias. I'm just kidding. All right, our last team here is going to be versus Aurora Borealis. Is going to be Shadow Moses. These guys are the villains of Stanton, or the entirety of Star Citizen. How about that? Makes it easier for you guys. But anyways, Comment 15 and Cobra, two awesome folks that I was able to chat with, through DMs. But, you see Cobra, I talked about him a little bit during a little earlier in the show, but one of the best knife fighters right now using that joystick and mouse combination. He's going to be in that arrow. From what I've been told from members in the community, is this guy is one with the arrow. Okay, so that kind of scary because we haven't seen him, compete, but apparently like him, he can match up or even be a lot better than how G.I. Joe flies. So I cannot wait to see some of these matches go into the tournament, and it's going to be incredibly hyped. But I'm going to throw it over to you, Meyer. Tell me a little bit about Shadow Moses and their path to the finals.
Yo, I mean, like, these guys have been a long-standing PvP org here in Star Citizen for a while now. I think most people here in chat know exactly who they are and what they have to bring to the table. I see quotes in there. There are villains. They may be villains, but there are villains. But I mean, end of the day, it's going to be good to see them compete here. One note, though, however, Cobra 257 is our only contestant today who's going to be having, aside from, of course, the mouse and keyboard, is going to be having a different way of playing. They're going to be going on the hands-on mouse and stick approach, or HOMAS, I believe it's called, which I haven't used myself, but I think that it's one of those things where when it comes down to aiming, it might actually be a little bit better than using HOSAS, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, They have their work cut out for them today against a whole bunch of these teams, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they do for sure. But yeah, they came across a couple of teams in the group stage, but sadly we didn't get to see them, so I don't really have any other notes myself.
No, it's all good there. I mean, Shadow Moses, they also didn't have a bye. They had to beat Sussy Snakes, who's on first, and then went through Las Divinas, not dropping a single game, all 2-0s. But again, this is the finals. This is going to be on a high level. So I don't know if I can say that every team has, is better than others. Obviously, that there might be. I don't think that there's. I personally can feel like there's a skill gap in this top 8 teams. So I'm very excited to see these matches coming up here very, very soon. But Kroncy, anything you want to talk about Shadow Moses here that kind of stands out to you?
Yeah, when I see that someone's using stick and mouse, it scares me. It scares me in the way that when I see a professional like FPS esports person with their screen 1 inch away from their face so they can really, really get the pixels right. That's the kind of energy I'm getting from Cobra right now. So I am terrified to see what they can do on the battlefield today. I personally don't know a ton about them, so I'm excited to learn a bit more about them today and see what they can do and, bring their special brand of PvP to the event.
All right. Well, I believe matches should be ready here soon. But before we do that, I just want to say, look, guys, pick up the merch, man. Go grab it, okay? Because this thing is pretty lit. So go grab the merch. Seriously, I'm gonna say it one more time, guys. A big shout out to CIG for allowing us to come up with this awesome collaboration, man. Get geared up for CitizenCon. Okay, we want to see these jerseys out there, whether you're cheering on for your favorite team, losing your mind, taking off your shirt, running across the stage, sliding for base or home base. I don't care what it is, man. Grab yourself some merch and come represent us and come have a good time. By the way, I want to talk about a little bit about this, and we talked about it during the group stage, guys, but how excited are you both to kind of just be in person and finally be with the community after, what, 3-4 years that we haven't really had a CitizenCon? I missed the one in Manchester in the UK in 2019. I was at the one in Austin. But I am so excited to be in the presence of the community one more time so people can understand the passion that I have, not only for Star Citizen, but for what we're doing here at Atmo Esports. And I feel like in person, they're going to feel when I talk the way I think. They're going to feel that passion with me and kind of see what we're doing here. So anyways, any quick thoughts from you, Kroncy, that, how excited are you to just be around the community at CitizenCon?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I am regretting one thing, though, which is I said at the start of the year that if I'm going to CitizenCon, I have to get a tattoo of a ship manufacturer. And now I'm going to CitizenCon. So that'll be
You
fun.
better get Drake. Drake.
Yeah, I've never been to one before, right? I started playing at the end of 2019, just after the last CitizenCon. So I've never really had a chance to meet the community in this way. I've only really had the small bar citizens that we've had in Sydney. So it's a huge deal for me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Meyer? How are you feeling? I believe you did go to the one in 2019, but how are you feeling coming back and, heading to CitizenCon this year to not only be around the community, but also be a part of this massive in-person tournament?
Well, I mean, I've been to every single CitizenCon in existence, so I mean, like, it's kind of just another one to check off here. But every single time I've gone, I mean, like, I'm not flexing. I'm not flexing. Every single time I have gone, it's been as like a volunteer, like working behind the scenes to help make the convention, flow. This time around, however, it's less in the back end, more in the front with Fight and Flight, so it's going to be a very different thing altogether. But I am looking forward to seeing a whole bunch of faces that I haven't seen in so long because, when it comes down to it, the best thing about StarCitizen is its community. And I think after this, we're going to see a whole bunch of faces that we recognize now in chat, like over there. And also, I'll be seeing Croncy for the first time in real life, too. So it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, that's awesome to hear. Look, man, all I'm going to say is that out of all the events I go to year round, I go to a lot of events, fighting games, I go to Call of Duty events, I go to HCS, I go to so many events, man. I love going to these events so much, but nothing really compares to my attendance at CitizenCon. And I'm just going to say this one more time. If you guys are not there, I promise you, you're missing out. Whether you're a content creator, whether you're a fan of the game, if you want to go shoulder to shoulder, talk to a dev, talk to somebody, tell them how much you love the game. Like, going there and seeing this in person is absolutely mind-blowing, and it kind of changes your perspective about the direction that they're going, with the game and timelines and all that good stuff. So being able to meet those devs and talk to them because they're real people, it makes you kind of understand a little bit better about, hey, they're just, they're human. It's game development. It all takes time. So I'm telling you, man, show up, go there. I'm pretty sure there's still some tickets available, hopefully, before they run out. And come with us, be there, not only cheer on the CIG team, but also cheer on your favorite team at the Fight or Flight CitizenCon Invitational. Is going to be absolutely incredible. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we have our first match ready. Taking the mics for right now, and Meyer, we'll see you back at the desk here in a little bit. But let's switch on over to see our first match of the day. It's going to be Avenger Squadron versus Liberty Reapers Black. I'm excited. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Croncy, how excited are you to see? By the way, we got names. All right, everybody's like, oh, we need names. Well, we got names, baby. You see A+ on that top left, and New Cabbage from Liberty Reapers Black, and then Avenger 1 and Schwang from Avenger Squadron. Croncy, break this down for me. Who do you feel is taking this home?
Well, this is a bit hard, right? We got to see Avenger Squadron and them perform unbelievably well during the first series that we had 2 weeks ago. And what ended up happening is we actually saw Avenger 1 get into a lot of 1v1s in the late game and be able to clutch those out. A lot of those were versus arrows. So here we get to see Hornet Saber, which we're going to be seeing a lot of today. So get used to this matchup. I don't know. It's very interesting. The Hornet is just so resilient, and it's so tanky, and it's got so much damage, and it's so fast. It's really hard to see a situation where we don't see a 1v1 Hornet fight today. I don't know.
All right, well, let me get this countdown started, and the match started. Croncy here in a few seconds, but I think we're ready to go. All right, let's get this match started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. You have Liberty Reapers Black versus Avenger Squadron. Let's see how this plays out. Croncy, take it away.
Yeah, as you guys know, if you were here for the group stages, first thing that happens is guys need to head towards the center, do a little bit of a handshake and maneuver, more or less, just to say, hey, we are here and we can see each other. And then the fight begins. Now, as you can see, we're a little bit in the early part of the day, so the pips can be seen a little bit easier in the shadows of some of these mountains here. But as we get towards the middle of the day, some of the fights in round 2, that's really going to become a problem. But at the moment, it looks pretty decent. Now, it seems that A+ and New Cabbage have gone pretty high in the atmosphere for the most part, waiting for the handshake to start. Avenger 1 Shuang coming in a lot lower. And that's going to be a little bit of an advantage later. Probably not right now, but we'll see what happens as we're about to get into our first engagement.
Yep, let's go ahead and do a listen in here with Avenger Squadron that is now ready.
He's diving pretty fast.
Okay. I want to go down too. I'm gonna try and get a pass on New Cabbage.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Got
pass.
a good pass. Good pass.
Yeah. Good pass. String him out. Oh, switching to the saber. Yeah, I got shields
No one on
down
me. No one
the
on
saber.
me.
Okay, they're on me. I'm coming to you.
Okay.
Yep, bringing them towards the sun.
Get my energy back. They're in a chaff cloud, so I'm waiting.
Yep, I'm turning back in.
I see New Cabbage. I'm going lower so I can get better angle.
Yep, turning around on New Cabbage.
I got.
Yeah, they're tailing me. I'm just gonna pull them up.
I have A+ on me.
Roger that. Switching to A+.
I'm kiting.
The saber's tangling me up here. You got to fight that saber.
Wow, so far you see that communication there by Avenger 1 and Shuang doing a great job at trying to survive, but it seems like they keep going on that Hornet right now, Croncy, and Shuang is just bailing him out there every time, doing a great job, and that's why that Hornet is so good, right? Being able to pull away and using that acceleration buck to get out of the way is just very smart there. So, Croncy, what do you think about that comms there so far?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, also some great target switching that we saw there as well. It was great to see how they were using the chaff as well as, flying towards the sun to blind anyone who's following directly behind. It was really, really cool to see. We do seem to have an explosion on both sides at the moment. So Shuang and A+ are down, which means we're up to Hornet and Saber at this rate. Oh, never mind. There we go. Down goes Avenger 1. New Cabbage is able to clutch that one up. That's going to be them for game 1.
Yeah, I think a very good job there by Liberty Reapers Black being able to stay on target and trying to chase down Avenger 1, putting him in trouble early on in that matchup. But before we do that, let's get back to the desk here with Meyer. Man, that was honestly, I felt like that matchup could go either way, doing a very good job with the communications of Avenger 1 swapping there. But Meyer, give me your thoughts, man, on this first matchup so far where Liberty Reapers Black is going up 1-0.
Man, I mean, like, first things first. I mean, that was some masterful communication from both teams there. I mean, like, just watching them, like, basically hand off targets between each other, using the shaft to break pips and to lead their targets on, and to just make the most out of the sun, using that situational advantage and stuff. I think that it's maybe going to come as a bit of an upset, really, because Avenger Squadron, obviously, I feel like had kind of most of the most eyes on them today. So them conceding that first match against Liberty's Reapers is very interesting. That being said, I mean, like, again, this is the grudge match here. Avenger Squadron were the guys to take out Liberty's Reapers Orange, and so, this is definitely a fight to be seen. But yeah, I mean, like, it was interesting, though. I mean, we talked about positioning before. We talked about, like, how you had to make sure, again, watch out for the sun, watch out for the snow. And we saw Liberty Reapers Black here make the most out of that by climbing real early on as well, to make sure that they were positioned exactly where they were most comfortable with before the fight even started. So yeah, all in all, really good stuff.
Yeah, very, very good job. And I love the listening. The communication, I think, was great. Right there, man, Liberty Reapers Black doing a great job at, like you mentioned, getting that position earlier on and just being able to go straight into Avengers 1's Hornet and just damaging, making him pull away and pull up at the same time to try to get away to kind of have Shuang be in position to be able to kind of save him. But at that point, when Shuang was able to come back and hopefully help out Avenger 1, that's where they kind of took out Shuang first. They did a great job, Liberty Reapers Black, at being able to switch that target and take out Shuang initially right off the rip. I mean, Avenger 1 had that 1v1 position, but as I said, like, he was already in that position where Liberty Reapers Black was just had that hold on him, you know, kind of behind in that position. But Croncy, what are your thoughts here on this last matchup here?
Yeah, I mean, we saw pretty much a textbook example of how you deal with these mirror matches with the Saber and the Hornet, which is that it is much easier to punish the Saber for being out of position in this sort of situation, yeah. and that's exactly what happened here, right? It was very interesting that Avenger Squadron seemed to want to favor the lower ground here, and I wonder if that's something we'll see continuing onwards throughout the day, as that is, from what I've been told and been taught, that is not the standard, especially even for this sort of instance. Obviously, as we go through the course of the day, and, you know, the light gets a little bit brighter, the snow gets a little bit brighter, some more things are going to come into it, but for now, it was very interesting. But it was very cool, I will say, to listen to how they began that first engagement, Avenger Squadron, and how quickly they were able to change targets and make sure that they were getting out of dodge. It was very cool.
Yeah, I love to see that, how Liberty Reapers Black was able to get on that target, you know, fairly quickly, being able to turn properly. I think they did a great job here, and I was a bit also like, why are they so low? But I love this arena because even though there's snow on the floor, Croncy, you still have those patches of like that, you know, you still have those patches where you're able to see those pips still, regardless of, you know, of how bright it gets, you know, during that midday. But good job to Liberty Reapers Black coming in up with that 1-0. And then we have our next matchup coming up is going to be Avenger Squadron versus Electric Blanket. This is going to be from your hometown here, Croncy. But already, man, yep. This fight lasted, what, like 2-3 minutes? Yeah, it went a lot, you know, it went definitely quick, but it was completely slowed down from what, you know, from what we saw in ArcCorp. Sorry. I was trying to find the wording for that, but yeah, it was in ArcCorp. It was very, to me, it was a lot slower and more, you know, better. And then the next time we see Liberty Reapers Black, then we should be able to hear them and how they're communicating, so we can kind of break that down as well, moving into match number 2 or fight number 2 for match number 1. So, but Meyer, did you expect that, you know, them to be able, like, who do you expect to win on this one? Because I know you keep talking about a grudge match, but it's so hard to, like, two high top tier teams, man, you know?
Well, I mean, both teams were clean sweepers. So, like, you know, I want to say that, like, you know, going through the group stage, every single team is a challenge in their own right. But these guys haven't lost a single match. And so up until this point, it's been hard to tell who is going to necessarily be on the back foot. Watching that replay footage, though, seeing how Avenger 1 did explode, it is interesting because it looked like part of their tactics here, as they were picking their targets and trading targets, was to dump chaff to drop the pip. But I think 2 times in those replays, I saw the chaff dropped, and it did not provide the cover that they expected. Maybe it dropped the target like for a second, and it came back again. And I think it might be because of how, like, the chaff cloud works. It's not just a sphere, it's physicalized. And so, like, you know, maybe perhaps it just wasn't able to block him the way that they would have liked. But that being said, this has only been match 1. This is a best out of 3. And so now these teams, Avenger Squadron and Liberty Reapers Black, are going to go ahead and go back, see the footage, and see how they're going to take this forwards. Because, again, this could go the distance, and I think most of these matches might do, just because of the level of play that we have here at stake today.
Yeah, I mean, very good points there. I think with a little bit of adjustments, of Avenger Squadron can come back and take, you know, game number 2, you know, before they get, because if they lose this next one, they will get dropped down to the losers bracket, and they will have to do that losers run if they want to get to that top 4 spot. So definitely a road for that, but it's always a bit nerve-wracking as a competitor to be down 1-0. But I don't think that should be it, right? Adjust, come back. You're right. Just grow that resolve and hopefully come out on top for this next matchup, taking it into a promised round or fight number 3, so we can kind of see. That's what I want to see, man. I'm okay with seeing 3 fights all day long, man, because this is going to make this a lot more competitive and overall for everybody here. So
The stakes are high. The stakes are huge.
yes. So right now we're standing by here for Avenger Squadron, the community member versus Electric Blanket. But let's go take a look at the views until that other cam gets pop up right now. So, but for so far, action is massively packed here today for Fighter Flight, presented by Game Glass, the road to CitizenCon, man. But here we go. We getting here ready. And remember, like you mentioned, Croncy and Meyer, like we have to, make sure that they do that handshake at the A90 jump and then kind of, strategize from there. That handshake needs to be around the A90 jump to make sure that, teams are not going out, or starting at the top of the atmospheric barrier of our arena. So, we got to make sure that they're doing that handshake properly.
That's right. I mean, like when it comes down to it, it's kind of like resplendent a tiny bit of like how the PvP community works right now. Most PvP, if you do get SC today and you want to try what they're doing right now, happens in free flight. And so everybody is kind of already used to the handshake because like in free flight, you can have like, 10, 12 people flying at once and you kind of have to target them. You have to like drop a flare so it's on and it's time to duel. So I think that it's kind of cool to see handshaking in its own kind of way being part of the PvP dynamic of StarCitizen at the moment.
All right, well, let's go to our next matchup here. For Avenger Squadron, the community members versus Electric Blanket. And let's see if Croncy, your hometown, can bring game one home, baby. So let's go on over to our views here and then Croncy, I'll let you go ahead and break down that countdown as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, no worries. Also, firstly, a reminder, we now have a different configuration. We've got Hornet and Arrow for the Australian team versus the Hornet Saber. So this will be a very interesting one to watch because we got to see this a couple of times, and sometimes, the Arrow comes out on top, and I like that.
You like that, huh? I see.
I do like that.
No, that makes sense. All right, well, Croncy, whenever you're ready, man, go ahead and take the countdown. I believe the teams are ready to go, so I'll leave that up to you.
All righty. Arena A on go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! All right, fantastic. So it looks like we're going to be listening to Electric Blanket. We're going to have a listen in for them today, which is going to be very cool to see because I want to know what these Arrow tactics are. I want to see what they do when they first come in for a couple of passes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this first pass where they have to meet here in the middle and be able to get that handshake out. Will Floormat and Gimmick continue on their road to Terra here and get to the top 3 or even further like they did last year, or where the community members, all right, meme it up and come out victorious here today? Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into a listen-in here with Team Electric Blanket.
Sea Lion Hornet. Where's the Saber?
Not sure. I don't want us going on it.
He's far right. He's oh wait, no, he's right on us. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Okay.
He blew through.
Yeah,
Just make sure you don't die to the Hornet. I'm gonna go on the Saber.
Okay.
Check fire. Bogey.
WQ.
Bogey.
Yeah, I'm gonna let stray bullets go. I'm gonna swap to the Hornet, get him off you.
Okay.
Doing?
Alright. I'm gonna have to string him out a bit.
Where's your shields?
They're down.
There we go, Croncy. So this fight has been going already hardcore, and they're just switching and not being able to chase, doing a great job at backing each other up in this matchup. Electric Blanket doing a good job to staying alive here, Croncy.
Yeah, a big thing to remember to watch here is anytime we get into an instance where we've got the Hornet being chased by the Arrow, you're going to see it's going to be a really, really hard job for the Hornet to actually get a pip on the arrow and leave it long enough to, you know, actually kill it. Essentially, it's far too easy for the arrow to just sit in some awkward positions, which means it is the job of the saber to punish the arrow as much as possible in those situations. So yeah, it's gonna change a lot. That Hornet has taken a lot of damage there. That is very rough.
Yes,
it's a bit
right
dark,
now,
hard to see in some instances, but oofed.
Yes, right now both teams are going pretty hard, and there we go. That Cold Sea Lion went down here, and boom goes Gimmick. Stray Bullets is on target, putting this in a 1v1 versus Floor Mat. And man, to see Cold Sea Lion take that much damage going out into this 1v1, Hornet versus Saber. The Saber's supposed to have the advantage here, Croncy, and hopefully it can come out on top. He needs to do a good job at maneuvering out of the way and out of that pit from the Hornet.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a situation here where the Hornet's probably just going to be able to withstand a lot of the damage and then just get itself into positions where it can punish the Saber. However, if you look right now, that Hornet has no shields. That Saber barely has any shields. I think they're actually all gone. They are indeed. And that is some damage being traded both ways. I mean, both of these players are just on target on each other. And there goes the Saber. Down it goes. Hornet takes this one. First game goes to Electric Blanket. Team Aussie.
Electric Blanket doing a good job there. Floor Mat staying on target. I mean, just doing a great job, man. They're Electric Blanket taking out Avenger Squadron community members. Let's get back to you, Meyer, at the desk. But wow, Croncy, what a great fight there to see. You know, I love these listeners because we're getting to see, you know, firsthand what they're trying to do, strategies. I mean, they can always change it up because remember, like, every strategy for every fight is not going to be exactly the same, but very, very great composure by Electric Blanket, letting somebody run away, switching off, and teaming up with his teammate, making sure that they can back each other up. I thought that the Saber was going to be able to take it, but already had so much hull damage, and that Hornet is still, you know, pretty tanky. So very good job there for the Floor Mat taking up that matchup. But Croncy, I'm going to start with you this time. You know, let's jump into the replay, but I'll start with you. What are your thoughts here on this matchup, and what kind of like stood out to you here?
Yeah, so, you know, I was sort of mentioning that if we do get into the situations where you're chasing after the Hornet, you've got to just punish the arrow as much as you can. And we did actually see that. We saw the arrow go down pretty quickly once, you know, everyone started to get some heavy damage on them. Now, luckily, Electric Blanket were able to pull it off at the end with their Hornet v Saber, but just look at these amazing positionings that they've gotten themselves into in order to just, hey, you've disengaged from my friend. Well, now you're taking the full brunt of my fully operational battle system. So, yeah, very good to see.
Well, what about your thoughts on this fight here, Meyer?
I mean, 2v2s are just a very interesting format for like just PvP in StarCitizen, because you get to see a lot of like interesting, like, you know, again, it requires a lot of communication, a lot of cat and mouse, you know, like a lot of target trading. You know, we saw at the very beginning, both teams come in with a very low altitude start. Nobody tried to climb to the top. And it kind of, when we went to like the comms for Electric Blanket, we kind of heard them trading targets off, trying to make sure that Hornet wasn't just getting whatever target it wanted. And it kind of paid off here because, again, you know, the Hornet doesn't have that kind of sleek profile, let's say an arrow does have. And, you know, the smallest part of your ship is the front. And, like, you know, if you approach it from anywhere else, like we saw, you know, like Matt's Hornet basically just decimate the other Hornet, like... where am I going with this? Let's just say... let's just say that it was a really cool fight. I mean, like, just seeing the cat and mouse work was just awesome. And at the end, it was a damage trade-off between the Hornet and the Saber, right? And even though the Saber does have a bit more DPS, the Hornet is a bit tankier. And both shields were down in that last encounter, and it just kind of played off the way you'd expect it to, with the Hornet kind of like just coming out on top. Because end of the day, the Saber is supposed to be a stealth fighter, but there we go. It was a good fight, and I'm sure like Croncy here is excited for the Aussies, you know?
Yeah, still, even though, right, like it's such a great job that the Hornet has some ballistics up top, because once you run out of those ballistics, you really all you can count on is on those 3 repeaters to be able to get all your DPS done. So even though, the Saber, it looked like his shields, he had to kind of protect himself a little bit. But I think after that point, switch power to weapons was able to kind of, he had to go all in because he was already red and he was already down. But I think that the Saber could have done a little bit. I'm not going to, critique, but probably could have done a little better maneuverability to get out of the way and probably just, hopefully do. I mean, I'm not going to say it can do what the Arrow does, but it definitely has better maneuverability in this tough atmosphere to get out of the way and hopefully be able to, hit some damage and do the same thing over and over. But, hey, man, tough part there. Both Avenger Squadron teams down 0-1 in the bracket. Let's take a look at the bracket real quick before our next matchup here, because, man, it's already, I don't know, man. My predictions in my head are just all over the place. But let's go to the bracket here, take a look, and see what we got going on so far. So, as you can see, round 1, we have Liberty Reapers Black and Electric Blanket already down. Already up 1-0 versus both Avenger Squadron teams. I think they're going to do a great job, though, at adjusting Meyer and Croncy and bringing him back. But our next matchup is going to be Gooby Woobies versus Pax Mortis. Now, I'm going to throw it over to you, Meyer. Where do you think this is going to go? Because both teams, man, showed some great strategies in the group stage. And do you feel like they're going to come out? Because Pax Mortis is going to use that talent.
Yeah, I mean, we have Ram Departments, Gooby Woobies, and Pax Mortis. I mean, both of these teams were actually one of the 2 only teams in the group stage to concede 1 match in the finals. But that being said, those were some really hard-fought matches to get to in the first place. That being said, I actually don't know, when it comes down to it, who is going to come out on top. Obviously, we saw Gooby Woobies, and their gameplay. We know, how GIG can fly an arrow. So, I'm expecting to see more of that, especially if Pax Mortis are going to be using that talent. That arrow is going to have to be on its tail the entire time as well. But yeah, I think only time will tell with this. But I don't want to call favorites. I don't want to necessarily predict because I haven't seen Pax Mortis, but maybe Gooby.
All right. Well, let's get over to the match. Ready to go. And myself and Croncy, we're back on the seat because we have this matchup. Pax Mortis versus Gooby Woobies. Meyer, we'll see you back in a bit. All right, Croncy, here we go. We got these 2 teams, man. I honestly, I want to say that I want to give it to Gooby Woobies because of their incredible maneuver, but I don't want to let it out, man. I can't let Pax, man. There's some great folks over there, gave us some great feedback, but it's going to be really good. What are your thoughts here, Croncy, before we jump into the quick countdown?
Yeah, excited to see these guys today. I do just want to quickly mention, I think we actually have the names on the wrong side here, because I do believe GI is in that arrow on the left side for Gooby Woobies, as you can see there on the talent on the right side. So just imagine those names are switched. Should be the situation here. But this is a team I'm very excited to see. We get to see the Talon versus the Arrow, which I don't even think we got to see last bracket. So it's at this level, not doing Hornet Saber is always going to be an interesting matchup to watch.
No, it's going to be super interesting. I'm super excited for it to finally see the Talon in place. We're going to get those names fixed for you guys, but for right now, Croncy, we're going to get this countdown started and ready to go.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Arena. Let's get this started. On go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! All right, here we go. Let's get this match started. And Croncy, we're going to be getting a listen in here from Gooby Woobies to start off the match to be able to see how they're going to communicate in the first pass here as they do their handshake method at the 890 jump. So...
Good, Harrison.
Getting her.
7 not slow down a bit.
Okay, I see Hero.
You see him?
Yeah.
I don't see him yet. Okay, see him. See Sierra and Sil. Sierra's closer.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go.
I'm far from you. Slow down.
Okay, slowing down.
Check 5.
Hit. Firing.
Shields.
Hornet's on me. Hornet's switching. I'm on Hornet. Doing damage.
Okay.
How are you doing? Switching to Talon.
Okay.
Talon's hull damage.
Wow, they went right into that arrow. Very good job here. Quite, a man of few words, but good communication. Letting them know when they're switching, when to slow down here, Kronzi. This fight is already on their way, where they started off shooting directly at the arrow and then switching to the Hornet. What are your thoughts here so far on this matchup?
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw. What we got to hear, though, was them switching between the Talon and the Hornet, which was very cool to see, listening to just how specific... Whoa! Damn, I was talking. Not supposed to eliminate guys while I'm talking. There we go. Down goes one ship. Where's the other?
Whoa.
We're in a 2v1 situation for Gooby.
Wow, very quickly there, Sil doing a great job here of just on target, doing a great job. And both Sin and G.I. Jew from Gooby Woobies are going to go down 1-0. Pax Mortis is here to compete. Back to the desk here with Meyer. All right, we're back here. Kronzi, man, while you were speaking, all you saw was just Sil getting into that position with the arrow, putting lights out on both teams, man. Unfortunate to see, but hey, they did a great job at making sure that lights were out. But I think the positioning for Pax Mortis, man, they did a great job initially getting those targets and getting some hits in to hopefully bring those shields down and then swap it out. What are your thoughts on this matchup? And we can jump to replays as well.
So just as a quick reminder, so that was Gooby Woobies were able to get that one ahead, as we did have some names swapped there, unfortunately. But the second that we saw the Hornet go down, it was only a matter of time before the Talon went down. We had some awesome comms from Gooby that we heard right at the start. I really, really respect a